St. Patrick's. Okay. All right. So thank you again and welcome to the March LSU Faculty Senate meeting on this blustery St. Patrick's Day. As you might appreciate, we are not transmitting live from the heart of our LSU campus. I am hunkered down in the School of Veterinary Medicine and Ms. Knoll in the safety of her home office. Fingers crossed that the luck of the green shamrock is with our digital devices and power grids. Should they go down, I am prepared to switch to my external brain, also known as a cell phone. So we appreciate your commitment to faculty governance and ask that you join us as best you can from a safe place. A busy agenda awaits us, so let's get started. All right, first, please make sure that the moniker by which you are known at LSU is on your Zoom profile so that your attendance is noted correctly, as due to our transition to digital, we are taking the attendance by Zoom login. Yes, please message Ms. Knoll directly so she can note your attendance accordingly. All right, so I have a list of alternates here. I remind you that there are no proxies. We have only alternates. So always be sure or do your best to secure an alternate that is eligible for the Faculty Senate to serve in your place should you, for any number of reasons, no need to enumerate, cannot attend. All right, so I have Professor Elizabeth Carter for Professor William Monroe, Professor Tracy Quirk for Professor Nan Walker, and Professor Senlin Chen for Professor Mark Martinez. Am I missing any alternates? Okay, well, if someone does pop in and is serving as an alternate, please do message Ms. Knoll and she will record your alternate's attendance, or you as an alternate's attendance. Okay, that said, I will forego, as I understand it, Ms. Knoll, please confirm there were no public comments. I can't find
no public comments.
Okay, thank you. It's a bit of it's a bit like the Brady Bunch in motion on my screen, so I apologize. I'm trying to keep track of all the lovely faces. Okay, next up, you all have received the minutes, duly recorded and very nicely provided and presented by Ms. Knoll, without whose assistance these meetings would be would be far more chaotic. So we appreciate her help and keeping of the minutes. If there are no major substantive or otherwise substantive changes other than typographical errors or potentially errors in recording attendance, etc. So no substantive errors or changes, only minor corrections. May I please have a motion to accept the minutes? Okay, thank you, Professor Miles. And a second, please. Oh, okay, very good. I didn't catch who that was from, but I think Ms. Knoll did. Okay, very good, thank you. If there is no one opposed, we will accept the minutes by consensus, given our current existence in the ether world. Okay, hearing and seeing no objections, the minutes are approved. Again, any minor corrections, do not hesitate to forward them. We appreciate the eagle eye of our senators for identifying any small mishaps. All right, next up, I'd like to welcome our interim president, Mr. Tom Galligan. I cannot see if he is on. If you are here, sir, please speak up.
I'm here.
Ah, brilliant. There you are. Okay, very good. All right. Welcome, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you, President Lopez. It is a pleasure to be with you. I wish we were in person, but maybe not this afternoon, given the weather. So I wish everybody well through this storm. Let me start off by talking about sexual and domestic violence on our campus and Title IX. I hope many of you had the opportunity to be at the faculty and staff forum on Monday. If you didn't, we have recorded it. There'll be a recording that is up. And I would really encourage you to watch the recording of the forum. I'm gonna repeat some of the things I said during that forum. And I know some of you have heard me speak already. I think, Roxanne, you heard me this morning maybe, so I apologize that I'm gonna repeat myself, but I think the messages are important and we need to keep saying them. The first and foremost, I want to encourage everybody to read the Husch-Blackwell report. I know that we are about to start or have just started the second half of the semester, and I know how crazy life is as a faculty member in the second half of any semester, but I would urge you to please read that report. It is brutal. It's hard, but it is thorough, and it concludes with 12 pages of 18 recommendations. And I think it very honestly shows us that through our actions and our inactions, we've betrayed the people that we were entrusted to care for. Our students really do place a trust in us. They place a trust in all of us, the faculty, staff, and administration, to keep them safe. It may not always be possible to do so, but when we can't, we've got to support them in their time of greatest need. And in some cases, when you read the report, you'll see that we satisfied that obligation. In many, many cases, we did not. We failed miserably. And when it comes to something as serious and as fundamentally important as safety, one failure is way too many, and the report shows that we had many more than one failure. I continue to offer LSU and my apologies to the survivors for the terrible things that they went through. And I also offer them my thanks, my gratitude, because their courage to come forward and tell their stories is why we're here, committed to change. There wouldn't have been a Husch-Blackwell investigation. There wouldn't have been a USA Today investigation if those survivors had not come forward. So thank you to them. It is absolutely clear that we've got to make some fundamental changes. And first and foremost, everybody has to understand that if you're not a confidential advisor, you have an obligation to report instances of domestic and sexual violence to the Title IX office, or whether you know of them or you have reason to believe that they have occurred. If you're asking yourself, am I a confidential advisor? You're not. You would know it if you were a confidential advisor. So we all have an obligation to report. My English teachers used to always, I mean, I did okay. They'd give me B's and they'd say, you keep using the same words over and over again. Change it up, use different words to express what you're trying to say. My law professors told me, don't use different words, use the same words, because that's the clearest way to get the message across. We haven't done that in expressing what our policy is on reporting. I've said this before, but I knew when I came back to LSU in 2016 that under Title IX, I had an obligation to report. After I read the 7 or 8 pages in the Husch-Blackwell report about the way we've communicated that obligation, the way that, and I think Mandy and I agree on this, in our rather ineffectual and sometimes offensive training, we have expressed the obligation to report. At the end of that 7 or 8 pages, I wasn't sure I had an obligation to report or not. Well, I do. And so we've got to be really clear about that. And that's on us to make sure that we get the message to you and to everyone else. Second, we're going to streamline and centralize Title IX. We have created the Office of Civil Rights and Title IX. I say created because Jane Cassidy, thank you, Jane, Senior Vice Provost of Academic Affairs, now on leave serving as interim vice president of that office, is in her office today in the University Administration Building. She's actually in Stacey Haney's office that Stacey Haney uses when she's here, but that's going to be Jane's office until we find a permanent, more accessible place for that office. It'll handle Title IX, it'll handle Title VII, it'll handle ADA and accessibility, and it'll handle other discrimination. Jane is fabulous. She's a respected colleague as a faculty member. She's a great administrator. She's compassionate. She's organized. She gets things done. So I'm really grateful to Jane for agreeing to serve in this position as we search for a full-time vice president of civil rights and Title IX. There was some little bit of conversation of, well, should we wait to do the search until there's a permanent president in place? And we decided absolutely not. We got to do this now and begin this process. I'm sure whoever the permanent president is will love whoever the vice president is. That goes to staffing. One of the concerns issued in the report over and over and over again is that we have not had adequate staffing in Title IX. We have a Title IX coordinator who is also our ADA coordinator, who is also our Clery Act coordinator or person. That's way too much for one person. There's one investigator in the office. There's no staff. We will be hiring administrative support. We will be hiring additional investigators. We will be hiring a case manager. We're going to find the resources, and we're going to get this done, and we're going to do it. And again, as of today, the office exists. We've contracted with Sexual Trauma Awareness and Response, STAR, which is a statewide survivor support organization. We've contracted with them, and we view it as an ongoing relationship. But the first stage this year will be to review, audit, if you will, our training and make recommendations to us as to how we can improve our training for us as faculty, for staff, and for students. Students currently, we know what we undergo every year. Students take something called, I think it's My LSU. I'm not getting the name quite right. Right before they start school, and then their voluntary trainings for the general student body after that. We've got to have a much, much more robust training process. We want people to understand what the process is. And we want to be more sensitive, and we want to be more compassionate so that people feel safe coming forward. So that's the education piece. Hush Blackwell recommended that we appoint a deputy Title IX coordinator for services and resources. One of the offices that is constantly praised in the report, and there aren't too many, is Lighthouse. So Lighthouse is a place where a survivor can go and receive health support, mental health support, and information and advice about the various processes the survivor can choose. If the survivor chooses to go through, can go through, what the pluses and minuses of the various processes are, and how confidential the various processes are, so that the survivor is in as much control as possible in determining what the survivor wants to do and or pursue. So we anticipate Lighthouse will be functioning with the Title IX office in that regard. And we all need to learn more about Lighthouse so we know where it is, we know it's available. And if we're confronted with a student, a colleague, a staff member who faces one of these terrible experiences, they know Lighthouse is available and we know how they can get there. We're going to do more regular reporting to our community on our Title IX numbers and progress. Hush Blackwell recommended quarterly reports. We will adopt that recommendation as in all of those things. The end hope is that we're a safer campus. The ultimate goal would be to eradicate sexual assault and violence from our campus. That's going to take a long time and a lot of effort. I love LSU. I love LSU because of the people. I love LSU because of the culture. I love the food. I love the spirit. I love Mardi Gras. I love the diversity of our community in South Louisiana. But this part of our culture, I don't love. This part of our culture, we absolutely have to change. And whatever my position at LSU going forward, I'm going to work. I'm going to work to change that. So, and I could go on the Title IX, and I'm happy to answer questions at the end. But I want to switch gears slightly and just remind everybody that a year, 370 days ago, we sent out an email to everybody saying that we would be moving to a remote teaching environment. It has been over a year since the pandemic hit us at LSU. And throughout that year, you all have been absolutely phenomenal in teaching our students, in supporting each other. Sam Bentley can say that at least by last November, we had more research grants awarded, $20 million more than we had the previous year. So you have stepped up and stepped up and stepped up. And I want to say thank you for everything that you have done and everything that you have accomplished. You deserve a raise. And right now in the governor's budget, there is a 2% raise for faculty. We're going to fight like heck to keep that raise in the governor's budget. And it doesn't include staff. We're going to fight to get a raise for staff as well. And if we don't succeed in that fight, we'll figure out how to do it ourselves. I don't know if y'all know this, but staff, other than civil service, have not had a state-funded salary increase since 2008. So we're going to work really, really hard on that. And I commit, and I don't know if Donna's here, but I know she agrees with me, and Stacy agrees with me. If somehow we don't get this in the budget, we're gonna figure out how to do something anyway. Because one, you stepped up and you deserve it. Two, y'all know when we recruit and retain faculty members, people want to see, I want to be paid fairly, and I want to look ahead and see I'm going to have a stream of salary increases in the future so that my pay is fair for the level I'm at amongst LSU's peers. And we all know that we have not had that. The budget also restores the $100 million that last year the governor and the legislature used CARES money to plug a $100 million hole that we would otherwise have experienced. The budget fills that hole up. The governor's budget puts in funds for mandated costs, insurance, retirement. It doesn't include LSU First, so we're working on that. And the governor's budget increases, formula funding. Now, that's the governor's budget. The key is for us to get that budget across the legislative finish line. And y'all live in Baton Rouge. Many of you live in Baton Rouge. Most of you, I think all of you live in Louisiana, I'm going to guess. Contact your legislators and get them to support us, please. And get your colleagues to do the same thing. Facilities wise, a capital outlay, the Huey P. Long project is moving forward. The studio art improvements are moving forward. In fact, we were supposed to have a little event tonight saying thank you, and it's been rescheduled for the weather. Our number one project is a science building. We desperately need that science building. If we don't get the science building and we continue to have classes like we've had the last few years, in 3 years, 200 to 300 students will not be able to get the labs they need when they come on our campus. Or if they do get them, they'll get them at 3 or 4 in the morning. They're already in them, as you folks know, in the College of Science. They're in labs at 10 o'clock at night. And that's just really not an optimal or safe learning experience. We'd also like to get some motion on a new library and get some planning money on the new library. As you know, the provost and I announced, Stacy, I don't know when it was probably 10 days ago now, maybe 2 weeks, time flies, that we were hoping to be back in the fall in person. That's our plan, to be as in person as we were in 2019. Folks ask me, they say, well, is that 100%? I said, well, no, it's not 100%, because actually about 5% of the classes we offered in 2019 were virtual classes, not in-person classes. But we're going to be back to where we were in 2019, assuming that we continue to make the progress that we're making in terms of bringing the numbers down, and the numbers are really pretty good right now. But critically for all of us is getting vaccinated. Everybody wants to know, I see Rosemary nodding, when's the next round of vaccination? I don't know when the next round of vaccination is. We are begging LDH and we're begging Regents for more vaccine. On Sunday, we had a mass vaccination event at, that sounded negative, but it was really positive, at Tiger Stadium. 976 people were vaccinated. It was a community-wide event, but because Kina Arbuthnot and Jake Palmer had gotten everybody to pre-register, we knew who was pre-registered and who was eligible. So the second LDH said, okay, you can sign up, we sent out an email to the folks on the list who were eligible, and we said, go do it now. So the vast majority of people who got vaccinated on Sunday, and it was really smooth, were LSU folks. It was the J&J vaccine. I do hear a rumor that we may be getting 200 Modernas, which is 2, not 1 shot, later this week. We will keep you posted, but we are pushing hard, and it went so well on Sunday that the National Guard is pushing to have LSU continue to be a mass vaccination site. And as people walked away, they walked away with a Band-Aid on their arm and a smile on their face. At the end of the day, I would tell you, keep your antennae up, because if you're in a group that's eligible and you're not necessarily have an appointment, we thought we had 800 doses and we ended up with 976. So there were shots left at the end of the day. There were some people that were walking by and people said, come on over and get a shot. And they go, but I'm not on the list. And with one of them, somebody said, well, do you smoke? And the person said, well, yeah, I smoke. Get a shot. You're on. So stay tuned. We'll keep telling you, but also stay tuned. If you can get a shot somewhere else, don't wait. Get that shot, because that's going to be key to us coming forward and going back. I'm sure I'm forgetting something very important, but let me say the most important thing I can always say, which is, once again, it is an honor to be your colleague. And I just thank you for everything that you have done during a year, 14 months now of being interim president. It was much more fun early on when I got to see you in person in that big room in the foundation, but this is great too. So Mandy, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir. And thanks for the town halls. I think they've been very highly attended and well received. We also appreciate you taking time out of your increasingly packed schedule to meet with us. There's time for just a few questions. We do have a packed agenda. Any that we don't get to, I do ask that you send to Ms. Knoll or to me, or post them in the chat. We are recording, and so we can go back and find them, and we will be sure to forward those to the president. So there is a question from Professor Esselstyn. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. And the HB report said the Title IX office was understaffed. Now we have a new office that handles Titles 9, 7, etc. Sounds like we're heading down the same road.
I'm not sure what this. Oh, I get it. I think I get it. And if not, Professor, you can supplement. No, because I think the critical difference is that we're going to hire people to fill the positions as they are needed. So we're going to hire adequate staff to staff the office. So I think that's the difference. And I got a great question this morning from the Staff Senate about other duties as assigned. I think we got to be really, really careful with not doing that again. Like, okay, somebody, just the Title IX coordinator. Oh, we need an ADA coordinator. Well, okay, let's do. But so we're at least as long as I'm here, we're gonna adequately staff, and we're gonna try to avoid that piling on.
Yeah, yes, we're all familiar with the other responsibilities as assigned.
Yes, no,
unfortunately, that's yeah, I'll watch out for that one in the
Yeah.
future. But that said, the other question is a proposal to have a college level coordinator position so that students know that they have a resource, I guess, locally.
I definitely think I will talk to Jane about that. There should definitely be resources in the colleges. At least they should be, and I'm going back to other duties assigned, they should be people who are, it'd be great to have one confidential advisor in every college, at least to send that person, a survivor, to Lighthouse, the Lighthouse experts, and or to do reporting. What we want to avoid is what did happen on campus. And the report makes note of this, that it happened in athletics and that it happened in another unit where the head of the department said, report these to X. They should go to Title IX. The department shouldn't be sitting on this stuff. They should go to Title IX. So that we definitely want to avoid.
Yes, understood. Unfortunately, and I do understand this myself, is that prior to the latest publicity, many people, let alone students, didn't actually know what Title IX was. So, and I think everyone was aware that the Title IX office was hard to find, hard to access for virtually everyone, including students. So we're looking for or asking about what steps will be taken to make the office accessible, to explain Title IX. What does Title IX? What does that mean to someone who isn't familiar again with the current publicity? So thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. One is, even though Jane is here in this building today, the University Administration building, the office shouldn't be in the University Administration building. I'm not complaining, but this is a lonely place, especially for somebody who's a staff member or faculty member and loves to see students and loves to see faculty. This is a lonely place. When the football team, I don't know if you all remember, the football team marched over here in August to have a conversation, and it was great. It was a wonderful conversation, but they started walking. They didn't know where they were going because nobody knows where the University Administration building is. So Title IX has to be somewhere else. We were thinking, Mandy, that maybe it would be the union, but the problem, there are particular problems with the union, and one of the problems with the union is maybe parts of it are a little too public, that someone might not feel safe walking it. So we're looking at some other locations on campus where the office can be housed. And your other point, which is not about facilities, but it's about the substance of it, is I think we've all learned more about what Title IX is in the last couple months than we knew before. But I think we need to, again, we need to educate people as to, what does this mean? And I've been assaulted. Where do I go? Somebody shouldn't have to know Title IX to know I need help. So we need to get that message out very, very clearly. It was funny. I had the good fortune last Wednesday to spend 10 hours with a Senate Select Committee on Women and Children. One of the things that somebody said, one of the elected officials said, and they were questioning us. They said, everybody knows about Title IX. And minutes later, one of the survivors testified, and she said, I had no idea what Title IX was at all. So we got to get that message across.
All right. So, well, once again, we're very thankful for your time, for your leadership, and well, for all that you've done for us. over the last year. Little did you know quite what you were signing up for, perhaps. But we're glad you did. So, all right. Well, pending any additional questions, we again thank you for your time. We know you're very, very busy, and we will see to it that any further questions are forwarded to you.
I appreciate it very much. And if I can figure out how to do this, I am going to give everybody the link. I did it. I'm going to give everybody the link to where you can look at our progress on these issues. And that also includes a link to the Husch-Blackwell report so that you can read the full 145 pages of the report. So thank you all very, very much. And as soon as I send this to you, I'm going to scoot off, but I really appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So I guess before the storm hits, we'll forge on. And again, I thank you all for joining us. Please do so from a safe place and hopefully safe and comfortable. All right. So next up, my president's report. All right. So first up, vaccinations. I hope that many of you were able to receive a vaccination at Tiger Stadium last Sunday. As the president just said, over 900 vaccinations were distributed, or I guess administered. I understand that many also can access vaccinations through their personal health providers, and many already have done so. So thank you, and please continue to get a vaccination wherever you can. In general, the vaccination experience is not something I look forward to. I don't find it overly pleasant. Nonetheless, it has been shown time and time again to be an effective strategy for neutralizing viral disease. So, my friends, when you are able, please get vaccinated and tell your friends and colleagues, no objection, get the injection. All right, plans are on track for a spring graduation. An email was sent out with all the details today. I don't need to cover them again. Appropriate social distancing, personal protective equipment for guests through students, and no procession or other close contact gathering. At this point, however, given the vaccination status and space limitations, faculty will not be required to attend graduation ceremonies. However, if you wish to participate, please work with your college administration for further guidance. And again, space is limited, so and opportunities scarce. So there will also be a main graduation ceremony, again, much like we have in the summer, for those graduates who could not participate in the graduation during shutdown. It will be held after the week after the senior college graduations. All right, so at this point, as the president said, plans appear to be on track for nearly pre-COVID. Can you believe we're saying that now? Semester in the fall. Presumably protective measures will still be in place regardless of vaccination status. The situation is very fluid, so in the blink of an eye, and certainly in the span of a week or month, things can change. Faculty do frequently request and continue to request, frequently and continually request that the administration share the plans for the upcoming summer, fall, and theoretically next spring a semester as soon as possible so people can start planning accordingly. Okay, so now the elephant in the room, as prefaced by President Galligan. And friends, please, let's be honest. He certainly stepped up to a plate that he could have in no possible way anticipated when he agreed to take his current post. But here we are. Thank you for your messages, queries, remarks, and concerns about the Husch-Blackwell report. In general, responses ranged from well discussed to disdain to moral exhaustion and pretty much everything in between. What was not conveyed, however, was any form of surprise. No one was surprised. I met with the president, provost, and newly appointed interim Vice President for Civil Rights and Title IX, Jane Cassidy, for a debrief last Friday. I brought up a number of points and queries, at least one of which I posed at the town hall on Monday. So I'll just go over them very briefly. Feel free to pose any questions to me. All right. My question was, why did the Title IX office responsibilities to continue to grow when the very basic functions could not be accomplished? Next, what is the explanation for the failure to document reports of Title IX violations and other sensitive information shared with the office? This is perhaps the most critical function of the office. And the question is, why wasn't it prioritized above all other activities? Okay, the general consensus I conveyed from the faculty is that the Title IX office has not been visible, accessible, or otherwise conducive to reporting, let alone feedback. In my previous reports, I raised the issues of the offensive Title IX training and the incomprehensible website. So the suggestion was that there be a Title IX team dedicated to the LSU Baton Rouge campus and separate teams or individuals dedicated to the other campuses. We need a functioning Title IX office on our campus. Targeted training. Suggestion was made that targeted training should be implemented. That is, when offenses occur in any designated unit, college, department, program, etc., targeted community training must be initiated. The Title IX report highlighted serious long-standing offenses against our students, many of whom identify as female. However, faculty also pointed out, and a Board of Supervisors member admitted, that LSU has a history of discrimination against women. This is reportedly evident in pay disparities, distribution of awards and honorifics and other recognition, promotion and tenure, resources, office and laboratory space, etc. This is not acceptable. Culture change is led by the top. So we eagerly anticipate substantial change in the immediate future, including a mechanism to report abuse and discrimination. Reports are mounting that the LSU ethics point system is becoming increasingly dismissive and ineffective. What is the proof? Well, if things aren't changing, the system isn't working. And finally, many have raised questions about the depth and breadth of the investigation. Understandably, I have numerous questions of my own. Perhaps one point that evades me is the targeted actions taken against and subsequent dismissal of a tenured faculty member. Dismissal against the findings and recommendations of a faculty panel of her peers. Dismissal during the same time frame that a highly popular football coach was predating upon female students. The alleged infractions are in no way similar between the two. Reasonable individuals find that the allegations against the faculty member were absurdly minute compared to those of the now notorious coach. I've asked the administration directly why and how this happened. There is yet no answer. But we, as faculty, are certainly aware of the caustic environment that promotes these unfathomably and heinously unfair actions against some members of our community. Let's be clear, however, I am not defending unprofessional, immoral, illegal, or otherwise socially unacceptable behavior by any member of our LSU. What I am pointing out is that targeting, harassment, discrimination, and bullying in any form cannot be tolerated. I've asked the top brass to provide an explanation for this sad paradox that I've just described and look forward to one. Another issue. The Board of Supervisors members appointed by the governor has only 2 members who identify as female out of a total of 18. This percentage of about 11% certainly does not represent that of our LSU or state. We ask that the governor consider this for all future appointments. And moving on to yet another paradox, March is Women's History Month. I prefer Women Making History Month. Throughout history, brave, tireless, ingenious people identifying as women led the way to where we are now. My grandmother used to share with me how proud she was of the women's suffrage movement. For many years, she dedicated herself to our local election process when ballots were literally counted by hand. She would disappear for days at a time, so dedicated was she. And I admit I really didn't, and maybe I still don't understand. But what I do know is that we have to make a difference for the leaders that follow us, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, gender, or any other characteristic. Please do stand up to those who would treat others viciously, subtly, unkindly, unfairly, or inhumanely. Say something, see something, say something. Make a difference. Okay, it's been almost exactly 1 year since our LSU Faculty Senate went virtual. What a strange new world we were about to enter and from which we hopefully now emerge. It appears that there is a little light at the end of the tunnel, appropriately distanced and probably wearing a mask, but it's visible. I don't know about the rest of you, but I feel for the first time in a long time, I can justify just a teensy little bit of relief on the topic of the global pandemic. I wonder what this year of worldwide sadness will look like when we look back 5, 10, or 20 years from now. But regardless of the vision in the rear view mirror of time, there is no question that we must maintain in the public consciousness the caregivers, the innovators, the survivors, those who soldiered on in the midst of unrelenting challenges, and most of all, those who lost the battle. We've learned, advanced, instructed, and created as never before. Let's take what we know now and use it for the greater good. However, we should not and cannot ever forget. All right, shifting on to committee business. For standing committees, I so wanted to say that they were all launched, and I can almost say it, that there's just 2 left. And one is the Appeals Committee, who will meet with the Provost and the newly appointed fellow, and the Enrollment and Digital Education Committee that I think will meet within the week. So thank you to Ms. Knoll, who has wrangled this unruly bunch, mostly me, into committees. And they are amazing. I am so impressed, proud, and enthused by the energy and dedication of all of our committee members. They're supercharged. We'll have some reports for the committees at our upcoming meeting. The Faculty Senate Executive Committee is hard at work always, I guarantee you. We've had multiple meetings with administration, about weekly, sometimes multiple times a week. We met with the CIO Torres, Donna Torres, we just a list of things that were touched upon was the vaccination status conundrum. Are we in? Are we out? Are we somewhere in between? Ongoing manual processes still required of Workday, including payroll deductions. The drudge of the AS 900 forms that will be required till at least July 1 due to the spending freeze. An inexplicable A-frame or sandwich board sign that blocked visibility at the intersection of Skip Burtman and River Road, requiring those who went that intersection to take their lives into their own hands and each and every time they made a turn. An update on PM 16, protection of minors participating in university programs, now deferred to Mr. Ed Nobles. Ongoing grievances on the student stipend tax. This may be a question for VP Bentley, who is here with us today. Requests for motion and implementation on tuition remission for LSU employee dependents, which was Faculty Senate Resolution 1907. And finally, we touched upon the lack of dependent pregnancy coverage in LSU First. We also met with Craig Woolley and CIOs Fred Woolley and Fred Piazza on the communication channels between LSU and the Ag Center campuses, especially for those with joint appointments. And they assured us that they are working to diligently, and they are, to resolve the communication breakdowns that have persisted pretty much throughout the history of LSU. All right, so I've just touched upon the many irons we have on the fire. We depend on your communication and input to identify points to convey to the administration, so we're always grateful for your messages. I try to get back within 24 hours. That doesn't always work, but please, if I don't respond, never hesitate to reach out again. I assure you it's not intentional. All right, we have a busy agenda today, led off by our own VP of the Office of Research and Economic Development, Sam Bentley, followed by VP of Online and Digital Education, Sasha Thackaberry, and then Faculty Senator and Faculty Senate Executive Committee member, Professor Julie Wright, will give an update on the recommendations of an ad hoc committee on remote teaching. The resolution listed on the agenda has been postponed to allow the team time to address the feedback received, and we will be requesting nominations for upcoming elections. Can you believe it? Next month is our last meeting of the academic year. Okay. Friends, the magnolias are blooming, daffodils are popping, the azaleas are beautiful, and they remind me of my home where the annual Azalea Festival Parade was led by an azalea festooned tractor in the local high school band. Thank you, each and every one of you, for your dedication, your service, your commitment, and your strength. I look forward to seeing you all in person again in the very near future. Stay fierce for the faculty, and please be safe. All right, I'll take any questions on my president's report. Okay, well, if any come into your head, please, at a later point, please let me know. All right, and then, as promised, our own VP of the Office of Research and Economic Development, Professor Sam Bentley.
Thank you, Mandy. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. I'm remarkably ineffective at sharing screens, so I'm going to try to flip over now. Hold on just a second. Okay, so you should be looking at a presentation version of a slideshow. Okay, looking good. So the Office of Research and Economic Development is here to serve you. Our objectives are to help support the research and scholarly activities of our faculty, especially our research staff and as many of our students as we can. As many of you know, when I came into this office just a little bit over 2 years ago now, I was given the task of increasing the research expenditures for the LSU A&M campus. Now, the first step in doing that is increasing the award dollars that come to the LSU A&M campus. And the value of that is that it allows us to support programs that impact many faculty, many students, and many staff well beyond those who bring in the grants. So how do we do that? How do we increase those award dollars? Well, my approach has evolved into what I call 3 legs of a stool. The first leg is to help faculty increase the success rate of proposals coming out of programs that are conventionally supported in large measure by research grants, by STEM-focused units on campus. The second leg is to help faculty who are in units that are perhaps not historically focused on sponsored research funding begin to submit more proposals to bring in more research dollars. And the third leg of the stool is to help our faculty develop proposals and win more proposals for large scale, national scale research centers on the LSU campus, on the order of tens of millions of dollars or more. And this presentation is focused on the strategy that we're developing in concert with the President and Provost's office to accomplish this goal. So the first point that I want to make in this regard is the question, what are we good at, is not the same question as what should our investment priorities be. We are an R1 flagship university with land grant, sea grant, and space grant status. And so we have many, many programs that are excellent, and that serve the land grant goal of improving the condition of the people of Louisiana. So, but there are also a lot of other issues involved in setting priorities for major research investments. And specifically, what I do want to point out is the going after large center proposals like this requires a lot of research infrastructure. And my specific goal here towards supporting those proposals is to ask the state to invest in our university, and in fact in our universities across the state, to support these the potential for these proposals. So state support is really essential in this regard, and it's going to drive innovation, it's going to drive economic development, and a lot of this can and will be done through research institutes and research centers, such as many of you are familiar with on the LSU campus. So are there any examples of successful investments where we have gone to the state and gotten tens of millions of dollars to invest in the research enterprise? And a good example would be the paired investments in the Louisiana Optical Network Initiative and the LSU Center for Computation and Computing Technology, which were funded by the state in the early 2000s. And I think many of us would agree that, that those have been extremely beneficial to research and development on our campuses across the state. And they probably also had economic spin-off benefits as well. So how do we go about identifying what will be the next major state investment in research infrastructure? Now, I want to clarify, we're not talking about a new science building or sort of basic educational programs. We're talking about going to the state specifically to ask for investment in something that will benefit the state, that will benefit the economy and improve the workforce. So how do we go about identifying those priorities? Well, it begins with the faculty. It begins with your expertise, with the people who have the core expertise and who have begun to organize themselves into teams that can tackle these very large problems. It also involves the state's flagship, or the state's land grant, or the university's land grant mission, which is producing a tangible benefit to Louisiana, the people and communities. And if we're going to go to the state and ask them for money, I think we have to be able to demonstrate a tangible benefit in return to the state. Secondly, do we have a critical mass, going back to the faculty, do we have a critical mass of faculty to do this work? Are they organized enough to pursue these large proposals? Does leadership exist in this faculty group? Is there a major external public or private funding source for it? Do we have any natural advantages to this particular area? And could it benefit multiple parts of either the LSU system or even higher education at large within the state? So looking at the constellation of capabilities and expertise across the LSU campus, my office, through consultation with President Galligan and Provost Haney in Academic Affairs, has identified 2 areas that we want to target initially. But this is driven by faculty expertise, and there'll be other areas that can follow based on faculty organization and efforts. These 2 areas that we're starting out with are coastal science, engineering and design, and quantum information science and engineering. And I'll go into those in a little bit more detail. So quantum is going to change. I think it's going to probably be the defining area of technology for the 21st century. It's going to change how our economy operates, how our military works, how information is transferred. And it's really, I'm a coastal geologist. I don't understand it particularly well, but to communicating it to a lay audience, I would say that it's the manipulation of atomic and subatomic particles to enable new ways to measure, store, secure, and transmit information. The way I also like to think about it in terms of where we are technologically is if those of you who are old enough can think back to the 1970s and imagine where cell phone technology and where GPS technology was then, and how important has it become for us now. That's where we are right now with what John Dowling, who's in the lower right-hand corner of this cartoon illustration, the late John Dowling referred to as the second quantum revolution. So in quantum, we're a clear regional leader intellectually. We have internationally renowned scientists. We also, and these scientists and engineers are also organizing around some very specific challenges, both at LSU and across the state. The next priority area that we've identified is coastal science, engineering, and design. And our faculty are working on many local problems, but that really have global reach and potentially global impact. I think we can all recognize that in Louisiana, especially South Louisiana, but the state as a whole, that coast is a concept that's meaningful to culture. It's meaningful to community. It's very closely tied with our economy because of the distribution of various types of resources and infrastructure. And it's also important for us to recognize that we are, as a university, very highly ranked in terms of national statistics for coastal research and development activities using NSF funding dollars, for example. We have more than 200 researchers across 9 colleges. We live in a natural laboratory of the Mississippi Delta that has global relevance, and our faculty are developing practical solutions for problems that impact communities around the world. So this is a big part of our global population, a big part of our national economy, and it's something we're really good at and we can make a difference in. So, but these are not the only areas. And again, as I mentioned before, this is driven by the level of organization of faculty in areas where we think we can obtain substantial investment from the state. Some of the other areas that I would put forth, but it's by no means an exclusive list, would be energy, biotechnology, computing and data science, advanced materials and manufacturing, and most recently, diversity, equity, and social justice, which is a topic that has come out of our roadmap for diversity. And this is an effort that my office is helping with in the research area. And additional candidates along this line at the bottom include space science and engineering. Think of LIGO, artificial intelligence and machine learning, augmented and virtual reality, and I'm sure there are many others that you all could come up with. But this is driven by faculty expertise, faculty self-organization, and identifying problems that can make a difference. So anyway, it's been a very exciting process for us to get to this point, and it's been a lot of discussion with the leadership and folks across campus, and I welcome your questions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, VP Bentley. All right, any questions? Okay, well, based on your presentation, this looks like a very ambitious yet targeted and certainly based on well planned, that is based on capabilities of our LSU. My question, I guess, is well, we're quite an eclectic group, and there's a lot of niche, I guess, sort of research, and I don't mean to call it niche in a derogatory or diminutive way, but sort of distinct sort of research going on. And so what, I guess, how about that? Or what about those less prominent,
Right.
I guess? Yeah.
Well, I guess a couple of thoughts there. First of all, if there are groups of faculty who want to organize around large-scale themes, and we think we can rise to the level of targeting state funding, and then this is not saying that these are the only things that are important to us, but these are the places we're going to start in getting major funding. And I plan to do it once a year to go for major investments in many different topics. So in some areas that seem to be ripe for this, we've started what I call exploratory committees to look at the landscape on campus. The two that are just wrapping up work right now include biotechnology, which also includes human health work, and also exploratory committee on diversity, which is wrapping up their effort right now. Again, as part of the roadmap to diversity. But if you're also a highly qualified individual researcher and you're doing great work and that's what you want to do, we're for it. And we want to help you with your individual success, regardless of where you are on campus, achieve what you want to do.
Yes, and well, there's a question, and just before that, just a little follow-up. How might an innovative individual who wants to put together a team go about that? Might your office help someone?
Yes, yes, and I see in essence a question, and that's a really great one. The two groups that I've identified thus far came to my door and beat on it for 2 years with, really hard. So there's been a lot of, they organized and they came after and said, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this, and we need your help. I'm all for it. And if something came together like this out of arts, humanities, social sciences, you name it, we're for it. If we're going to be seeking major investment, we need to be able to make the case for the value to the state's economy and to the state's workforce. But there are many other ways that we can help as well. And not everybody needs a $10 million cool instrument. Maybe there are other things that you need that are more attainable and would be more valuable to you. So I'm all in. We want to be here for everybody. This is just telling you how we're starting out the prioritization process for these really big initiatives.
Sure. I guess my question was specific to, yes, we understand your office is very welcoming and open to helping everyone. I guess my question is specific to helping to put together teams.
Okay.
And maybe I'm being
well, that's where so we recognized, just based on sort of pressure from outside and inside, that biotech and diversity research were too ripe for investigation. We would be glad to help connect with faculty across campus if you are interested in finding partners. And we would also be glad to meet with groups of faculty who self-assemble and want to come and talk about big ideas.
Right. Well, this is certainly a huge undertaking, and we appreciate the open door policy of the office. I think I've had numerous people mention that they very much appreciate that. I'm grateful for that. All right. Are there additional questions?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, everyone. This is great. And I echo President Galligan's enjoyment and appreciation for working in this community of scholars.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. And any additional questions that we receive, we'll be sure to pass on. All right. Next up, we have VP Thackaberry, Vice Provost of Digital and Continuing Education.
Hello, everyone. Can you see my presentation correctly? Fantastic. All right. Well, first of all, President Lopez, thank you for the invitation to come and share some of the progress that we've had, and also to help provide some context behind the changes and what we hope you will be very happy about. We have certainly received a lot of positive feedback, and just want to make sure everyone's aware of the organization and resource availability and what we're doing to really embed support for academic technology, for learning design, for development, and also for the Faculty Technology Center, all right within the colleges. So what we did, and this was, this actually started last May. So as of May 1 of 2020, right smack dab in the middle of the pandemic, after the first half of remote learning, what we did was we brought together the Faculty Technology Center and the Academic Technology Group, which also included our Moodle developers, to the team that also had our learning experience design and development. And part of the reason for that is we're really trying to maintain a faculty focus, so that, and I know, I believe Craig is on this call as well. He and I are very much in alignment on the fact that people should not have to discern our organizational structures in order to get the support that they need. Let's jump ahead really quickly. So this is combining sort of the how-tos with it, with the why it would want to be done, and all of the support in the same place. And the design and development team, as you all probably know, is led by Dr. Krishna Das. And we have about, I think now 14 in that team, combination of learner experience designers, e-learning authors, and also our professional development team. The Faculty Technology Center, as you know, is led by Sherry Thompson. She's been doing amazing things, also working with Craig's team on the implementation of a new ticketing system, Team Dynamics. And then Buddy Etheridge leads our academic technology group, but we're also focusing more holistically on the e-learning ecosystem. So as you probably lived through the pain with us of last summer, doing a 6th version upgrade for Moodle all at the same time. But we are there now. And then President Lopez, I want to thank you. I don't know where my slides are advancing by themselves. I want to thank you for providing feedback to us on the faculty gradebook. So what we were able to do was previously there had been a lot of customizations in Moodle. We obviously had to have most of those removed in order to do the upgrade, but there was a request for the gradebook. And at first we didn't think that the gradebook builder had much usage. But then we went back and actually looked how many faculty had touched it, how many had configured it. And so what we did was we actually found out that usage was higher than anticipated. So the developers did go back and re-implement that. So that is available in Moodle as it is. And we will have our first on-time yearly update of Moodle this spring in May. Don't be alarmed, it won't be like the last one. The last one, all of the data was actually moved. And so you had to select your course and ingest it, re-ingest it, but you don't now. It's just an in-place upgrade. Mostly it is some technology improvements from a security standpoint, patch standpoint. We have also been proceeding with some feedback that y'all have provided us with on, oh my gosh, now my courses from last term are up there along with my new courses. And so we did some work to make things a little bit more discoverable and easier, along with pinning certain courses to the top and doing some pieces from that end. So the feedback has been really, really important because it helps us know where to resource appropriately to get faculty the support that they need. All right, so this is my favorite part though, because we've been working on this for a while. So we actually launched it early last summer. It was available, but it wasn't on the website. And so it took a while to get everything sorted. We have a brand new website for faculty, obviously much better than the one that we put together in 24 hours when COVID hit, though that was pretty impressive also compared to our like institutions. So the web design team did just amazing work on that. But what we have now is when you go to the website, you can actually select this in-residence support, and you can search by college. You can filter. So this is the College of Agriculture, and Sherry is right there. She is the FTC in residence. You can view bios right there. Heidi is the designer in residence there. And so you can actually go in, book a consultation, book an appointment right there. And then when we're all back physically a little bit more in less of an alarming fashion, when we're all fully safe on campus, there will actually be physical location in each college where we'll be creeping on you, and we'll have our designer in residence and our FTC person available right there on-prem, so you can stop by and get the help that you need. We were also able to sponsor faculty fellows this year, which we were very excited about. And it's really about embedding the support in the colleges to get faculty what they need when they need it, try to make it a much more simple experience. So our faculty support website, we do have this fantastic little promo video, which I'm actually going to have to stop sharing and reshare to make sure that my audio goes through properly. Here we go. All right. Right, can everybody hear it? Yes? Awesome. And there it went. Take two.
Welcome to the Faculty Support and Resources website from LSU Online and Continuing Education. The redesigned site demonstrates our ongoing commitment to faculty success and represents the suggestions and feedback we have received from them. This video will introduce you to the resources and support services provided by the Design and Development Team and the Faculty Technology Center, or FTC. On the homepage, you'll find the latest update, followed by several categories of services.
Sorry, I'm having a little internet issue.
To help you along your journey of course development and teaching. Let's explore each of these categories. The Course Design and Development page provides information and resources as you go through the journey of course design.
I'm not going to do the entire 5-minute video, but the video provides a video tour of that support website. So we're hoping you'll be able to check it out. That voice is Lynn. She is one of our fantastic learning experience designers. And we are thrilled to have her as part of the team. Just a really great set of resources there to check out. And then this is my favorite part. We have a new fun toy for faculty support. If you go to our faculty website, again, it's online.lsu.edu/faculty. We have this fantastic little icon here, and our newest fun thing is Chuck the chatbot. So Chuck was actually named after Dr. Berryman. If anyone knows Dr. Berryman, he is one of our early adopters for our online programs. And so we went ahead and named our chatbot after Chuck. And so if you're looking for something, you can go ahead and ask Chuck. And Chuck is not a smart bot in that he doesn't learn by himself. So he's not AI powered. So we actually go in and update, and by we, I mean Sherry Thompson, goes in and updates based on feedback that we have. So if you do want to find something online, you can ask it questions. If it doesn't know the answer, we'll apologize for not knowing the answer. But Chuck the chatbot is there to sort of cut through some of the noise and help direct you where you need to be. Fair warning, Chuck has only been up for about, I want to say 6 weeks. So he has not learned a lot yet. So the more you use him, the more information we will have about how to direct you. Apparently there were several questions about the nature of the universe, the existence of God. So those sorts of things we're not going to help him learn. But if you ask about some other things, will help. So I suppose I could pass those along to Sam Bentley, and maybe he could answer them from a quantum perspective. But from a strategy perspective, what we're doing is completely in alignment. And luckily, we are a bit ahead of the game for when COVID hit. And so we really do have that strategy continuity that many of our cohorts are leading towards for our fully online programs and also for continuing education. So our brand value, our goal is to be very coherent about who we are in the marketplace so that students understand that these degrees are the same value as traditional degrees. The same thing with classes. You know, we heard a lot from students who are going to be coming back in the fall that parents and students, traditional students, want that traditional experience. But for fully online students, having this stackable universe is very important. We are partnering with Guild Education. For those of you who aren't aware of that yet, they are a provider of benefits for education. So we're trying to do what we can to create partnerships that drive down the cost of attendance for students. And so Guild partners with large employers who then provide tuition benefits. So the idea is for that those students are able to pay 50% or less of the cost of their tuition because their employer is kicking in. And the growth has been quite impressive. And this is because of you all. Faculty, we would not have courses or students without faculty. So this is because of the quality of our programs that faculty put online. We're on a trajectory for about a pretty consistent 70% year-over-year growth rate, which is obviously far beyond what we projected. And we are way surpassed our board goals. And as we move on, we're really focusing on creating more partnerships so that students, again, can, post-traditional students especially, those who are coming back to finish a degree or to change careers or advance their career, really don't have the burden of cost associated with it. Excuse me. And then, as you all know, this is really an investment in what we're trying to build overall here. So from a financial stability standpoint, we may get some additional state funds this year, but that is probably not always going to be the case. And so it's very important that we're able to have that stable enrollment and stable revenue generation to be able to reinvest back into the research endeavor. And the success of one can help support the success of the other. I read recently that Arizona State University did over $600 million of research expenditures last year. So that's kind of impressive. And they also have obviously a very large fully online division. So lots of good stuff, lots of hard work, and a whole lot of gratitude to faculty. So we also regularly have faculty focus groups to get feedback for what our offerings are going to be. And we do have a ton of professional development for faculty. And we also ask those faculty, what are we doing? What do we need more of? What do we need less of? And we change, we pivot a lot because of your feedback. So please do keep it coming. That was the short version, President Lopez. You know me, I could always go on, but I understand there are other people on the agenda.
Well, we are very grateful for your presentations, for visiting us. We know you're very busy, and we appreciate, I think above all, we all acknowledge and are grateful for the support of your team over this last year. I think everyone needs to acknowledge that. It took a lot of work by a lot of individuals, but we're glad you were here and moved us along into a new virtual digital age that no one anticipated. So thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you,
and I appreciate, I'm okay with Chuck, but do please avoid anything Grok, because you know I have an emotional, visceral reaction that I cannot control when said acronym is presented to me. So any other questions for VP Thackaberry?
Yes, there is one thing, if I may.
Please, go ahead.
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I don't have video, but I have audio now. First, I wanted to thank you, Vice President, but also to particularly thank and commend. I saw you at the picture there of Sherry Thompson, and she was just phenomenal in helping me, particularly last semester in transitioning things over and honestly in using Moodle and other technology. And also Greg Brignac was very helpful. So those members of your team, as you or others may be aware, were really great. And then I did have one quick question, please, which is, this may be too far in the weeds, and if so, just please tell me who I should ask about it. But one hiccup I found with Moodle is, as I was told, that it did not have an editing package for equations and formulas. And as a faculty member in electrical engineering, I discovered this well after midnight one night, after I'd put everything in for my test, and then all of my equations and formulas disappeared, except for parentheses and the word end. so I just,
not helpful.
Right, and I couldn't, there weren't other ways that I tried taking a picture and changing it from JPEG and all the different things, but there was not a reasonable, an easy fix. So just, who should I ask?
I think you're actually not the only person who has mentioned that. And I do believe that we now have a plugin for that. But what I will do is I will have our folks reach out to you with those details. Does that work?
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Professor Daniels-Race. Any other questions? Well, we're grateful for I know how these things can go. By the end of the day, my fingers are quite thick, and poor Susanna has to interpret what on earth I am trying to communicate, which is often communicated via penguin, which is right next to the thumbs up sign. So I'm very sorry about that if anyone ever gets that signage. But thank you very, very much, VP Thackaberry. We are grateful for your help and assistance, and I'm not seeing anything else. But should something pop up, we will certainly let you know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Next on the agenda is our very own Senator and Faculty Senate Executive Committee, Professor Julie Wright, who led an ad hoc committee of very exciting, very committed and innovative volunteers, and that ad hoc committee was charged with establishing some best practices for remote teaching. Now, this is distinct, and they were very clear about that, from online education or online instruction. This is more along the lines of what we've been doing over the last year. All right, so Professor Wright.
Good afternoon, everybody. It seems like the weather's changing outside. It's a little frightening. I had two different ad hoc committees, a little initial one, and then I met with some others, and it was from all across different colleges of the university. So I'm going to share the document, and these are suggested best practices. Oh goodness, just a moment. Oh dear. Let's see. Is it showing? No, it is not. Let's see. Miss Knoll, could you pull it up, please? Okay, it goes into 4 areas: planning, instruction, administration of exams, and email communication, to kind of divide things up, which will make things easier. When we look, before we can start a semester, and hopefully we will never be thrown into a semester like we were this past spring, the past fall, and this current spring. I mean, it was pretty, quick. So first of all, with planning, your Moodle course page should be completed for the entire semester before the start of the first day. That doesn't mean you shouldn't make any type of corrections, additions, or subtractions to your entire course. It just means have a roadmap of where you want to end and how you might divide it up during the weeks. Just like this year, I know we lost a week of instruction due to the ice storm, so people naturally had to make adjustments to their materials. All material and links should be posted on Moodle. In some of the discussions we had in the ad hoc meeting, many times people were emailing some things, Dropboxing some things, but there was no consistent source. So they found that having everything on Moodle in one place helped reduce student confusion about what they needed to do. Whenever we're planning, we need to plan with the students, their best interest with the course and scope of the sequence. Adjustments, as I said, can be made to assignments, rubrics, gradings, and due dates, especially if we have any type of emergencies. Another thing that we discussed was instructor presence. We are hoping that everybody would include 2 Zoom office hours per week. Those are set by the professor in the syllabus. You could have 1 2-hour period or 2 1-hour periods broken up, however that could work. The process for accessing the office hours could be in your syllabus. You could also have by appointment for those who need to meet with a private matter or concern. And one person in the ad hoc said that the group office hours, where people can discuss different things, different problems and assignments, is helpful so that they're not having one-on-one meetings and repeating the same answer over and over about assignments and due dates. And meeting one-on-one during office hours can be done through a Zoom waiting room during your scheduled Zoom period, your Zoom hours. Is there anything about planning that we want to have questions about?
Yes, Robert Cook here. My Moodle course, I know some others, especially instructors in chemistry and everything, have extremely complex Moodle sites that take them weeks to make. And basically what you're asking us to do is work in summer without pay. That's what this comes down to. And that is a bit of an issue. We're finding there's a lot of expectation of a lot of work being done well ahead of the semester that we're not being paid for. And then on top of that, we're having a lot more emails and other things now. So if the university wants this, they will have to compensate, because a lot of instructors do not get paid over summer. And this is something that we don't get vacation and we don't get paid over summer. So to actually have that whole course from scratch up and running before the semester even starts is a very heavy lift and can't be done unless we work in summer, that we're not being compensated for. And I'm a professor. I can't work on this if I'm being paid by NSF or any other funding agency my summer months. This is not allowed. So
Okay.
this was,
that's a good point, and we'll take note of it and certainly convey that. I'm sure the committee will consider that and also convey that to the administration.
so I think one possible one was we're allowed constructing the course during the semester. A lot of us have a course syllabus where we basically give a very rough outline to what's happening, but not the detail at all that's in our Moodle courses. I mean, some of us almost go by lecture by lecture by lecture, date by date by date, 3 times a week. So that's a large amount of stuff to put up there. So, you know, a week ahead of time, I can understand to guide the student to what to read in the textbook and everything. I fully agree. But the fact that the whole course must be up, I don't agree with. And I will debate that heavily because it means I need to put a lot of.
Mandy,
Yeah.
I have a question. Because a couple of faculty members of mine read this and my interpretation differed from theirs. And I need a clarification here.
All right.
When it says guidelines, this means these are recommendations.
Right.
Otherwise, these recommendations, if they were considered mandates, intrude into our ability to teach the class the way we want to. So I would recommend that in these recommendations, wherever you use the word should, you might change it, it is recommended, because the should implies that we have to.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it is. I think you've interpreted it correctly as recommendations, right? So when we found ourselves quite abruptly, almost a year ago, sort of turning 180 degrees, we found that, well, we were sort of making it up as we went along. And so this is just a document, just recommendations to establish somewhat of a baseline, to give us a framework. Heaven forbid we should ever have to return to the situation that we found ourselves in. But nonetheless, as I suggested in my president's report, we hope that we will continue learning or using what we learned in some form or another. So again, these are recommendations. The committee was just did their due diligence, did some research, looked around, used a number of different resources, and just came up with these as recommendations. So understandably, the presentation perhaps should be, will be as you recommend. These are recommendations. These are guidelines. These are not mandates in any sense of the word.
Okay. My misunderstanding on top, one's a slippery slope. Once we put it down, then they're going to go, okay. The other one was minimum standards for remote teaching was what the committee's called. So for me, this was just the minimum, let alone what should be. But this was sort of a minimum standard that then could be built upon from what the committee is titled. So I don't think that even recommended to the best of the ability for some of these, because some of them we cannot do.
Okay, well, we'll send that back to the committee for a bit of reframing and understood. Again, these are just some guidelines for best practices. That's as they were intended.
Also, can I say something that number one, all materials or links to materials should be posted. Perhaps maybe a basic textbooks and so on, but I don't know about all materials because materials come and go during the semester, depending on how things run. Maybe that could be reached out a bit.
All right, noted.
I have a question about office hours, if I could say something. And that the problem with established office hours is that you don't know what the student schedules are. So by appointment is for me, much better. I mean, I make myself very flexible and just say by appointment for any discussions you want to have. And it doesn't have to, it's about the class, it's about everything. But if I set office hours, I might interfere with 30% of the class's class time. So I think it should be much more flexible for office hours.
Yes, I myself know of a professor who took a poll of his students to establish their office hours and subsequently changed it 5 times throughout the semester because the poll kept changing. So so understood. So and good recommendation. So definitely have some flexibility in office hours.
May I ask one question as well? All materials are posted on the Moodle. Is it posted and available to students? Like as somebody sent a chat message here. For me, I post materials week by week, and I don't want to make everything available to students in the beginning of the semester. Students will know that after week 1, they will get in week 2 material access and week 3 materials access. So the posted means that materials must be available to students.
You can limit the access and when they're allowed to access the materials. It's just that one of the things that students have been saying is that the access to material has been very limited.
Okay, I can post and I can make it hidden. That's possible, right?
Oh
okay.
yes, it's your class. You can make your Moodle any way you want. It's just posting everything through Moodle. The students know that that's the one place to go to get all of their information. Whereas it gets confusing when things are emailed, Dropbox, different methods. Whereas if they can just go to Moodle, it seems to make things more apparent for the student.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I think that might just be, first of all, thank you for this work. This is super helpful. And I feel like there's been a barrage of negative comments. So I want to start by saying thanks for the work on this. But I'm also, I think it's the use of the term all, right? So when it says all materials should be available, everything should be done at the beginning of the semester, then the interpretation is that you should unlock your entire class at the beginning. So maybe just some clarity around what the intention of that is. That all materials should be delivered through Moodle does not mean at the beginning of the semester everything should be open and accessible by the students, because that is not clear in this document.
No, and of course it's your class, and I know that in my course I like to keep some things until we reach that point, because you always have a student who's very eager. They're going to look at everything and start asking about something that's going to be in week 10. And you're like, well, we need to get through weeks 1 through 9 first. It's just knowing that you have all your materials, where they can all be located for the students. Of course they can be hidden. These are just suggestions, and everyone, of course, has the autonomy to create their course the way they want their course to unfold for the students.
Yes, and I thank everyone for their comments and appreciate it. And I just want to reiterate that this is coming from our fellow faculty. No one, you have authority over your own course, of course. But this was also at the request of the students. So this is our faculty response to some of the concerns of the students. And it's coming from or faculty. This is not an administrative undertaking. So thank you, Professor Houston, for those kind comments. This is our team trying to come up with a bit of guidelines, and I certainly appreciate them for my courses as well. So, all right, shall we carry on?
Yes. Okay. The next part, of course, is the main reason we're all here is instruction. To enhance learning, I'm going to change it now. It should be recommended a variety of learning tools or modes of assessment for the student to interact with to ensure student success if the course qualifies. Now, everyone's course cannot have a discussion or an essay. Everyone's course, of course, you want to look at different things. When we were limited to strictly Zoom classes, I know some of us strictly, were an online class that was taught previously in person, that it helped the students to have a little bit of variety and not just so systematic that they kind of stopped paying attention and started just following a routine. It's hoped that class lecture recordings would be posted within 48 hours of the recorded class. There are accessibility concerns regarding the accuracy of recording transcripts, which falls under the ADA. So if it's transcripted, it is advised to look through it. I know that if you've read some of the transcriptions of the Zoom meetings here, that some of the words we use come across as something incorrect. Assignments should be designed, or it is recommended that assignments be designed in a manner that allows students to receive feedback in a timely manner. Students' grades should be accessible on Moodle or another method outlined in the syllabus without the student having to request the grades. That seems to be something that was brought up often. Some professors prefer to have a different method and the students are unaware of what grades they have. Grades should be updated throughout the semester rather than at the end. It was brought to our attention that some students didn't know if they should withdraw from a course or not, even though we allowed the withdrawal date being the last day of class. Dates should be provided to the students when assignments will be graded. I know that in some of these very, very large classes, it was brought up that it could take 2 weeks or even up to a month to get them graded, but it reduces student anxiety if we can say, okay, we took this test on March 1st, the grades will be recorded April 2nd. And it just kind of, and if something happens, the professor can always say, I don't know when that grade will happen. It's going to be delayed. I know that in composition courses, the writing courses, that takes a lot more time to grade. So it's just, we're hoping that if there's an assignment that builds upon each other, that the student should not progress to the next portion until the previous feedback's given to the student. This will help eliminate student error, that they could continue, if it's a 3-part project, continue through parts 2 and 3 to help get everybody on the right track. And it's suggested to help lessen the amount of emails received on a weekend, or a barrage of them on Monday, that assignments should be due on a Friday rather than over the weekend. This is something that somebody on the committee said that they changed, and they said it really helped not to come to work on Monday and see a lot of emails asking for extensions, or I didn't know what to do, or I didn't understand. It just helped by having assignments due on a Friday. Discussion boards. We want the students to interact with each other and feel like they're in an in-person class, but they need to be meaningful and appropriate. The use of the board should not be overwhelming. It should meet the discussion should meet the goal or the foundation of the class. Some students have brought to the administration's attention that the discussion board was set a minimum of 750 to 1,000 words each week, along with the other classwork. So it became more of the focus than the other classwork. So we want things to be where students are interacting with each other, of course, even if it's online, but meaningful. Are there any questions before we go to exams? I'm sure there is, but remember, these are all suggestions, not rules or mandates.
Just a quick question. How many years does the suggestions from students have to be on board before they become recommendations or guidelines per se? Or have you gotten these suggestions few years in a row? Or this is just from last year?
Right. This is just based on our last year of virtual or remote teaching.
Also, I'll bring this up again. I know Mandy, this is Robert Cook, Mandy knows this. For some very technical areas, we can spend 10 minutes correcting the transcripts for 1 minute of lecture, which basically means 13 and a half hours for an 80-minute lecture. If we have to post those with ADA compliance, that's 26 hours, 27 hours, plus a lecture, that's 30 hours. I only have half teaching, half research. I don't want to be working and then I have to do all the others, which comes out to be 40 hours of my class a week. I don't want to be working 80-hour weeks every week. So I think that one, the posting of videos really has to be looked into, because this is too onerous for us. This is way too onerous for us to do that. Julie, I basically say a sentence where I use the word fluorine, which is a chemical. Fluorine comes, and then it basically rewrites the whole sentence with the AI, where some of those sentences you cannot let out, or else the university will have a lawsuit when we're basically using some of these words.
Well, I am not with the ADA office, but I do know that that's been a big concern this year, is people feel like that they're not getting their accommodations taken care of. And I don't know how we could help with that. I do know that there should be note takers for those students, if I'm correct.
But Julie, if you post the video, every single thing in that transcript has to be 90% accurate. That's ADA compliance. And we have no support to do this. This basically is back on the faculty member themselves. And that just takes way too much time to do. It becomes a full-time job.
Okay, this is excellent discussion, and I don't mean to move things along, but all of our lights are flicking, and the thunder gods are upon us. So, Professor Wright, do you think you can touch on the highlights? And then these have been distributed, but we'll appreciate the feedback, and we'll we'll send that to the committee. Again, this is just a start, and certainly, Professor Cook, I understand your frustrations with the transcripts and the scientific notations and everything that do not translate correctly in closed captioning. Okay, so yes, Professor Wright, if you can just touch on a few of the highlights, and we'll finish up.
For administrating exams, there's been complaints about the pay. For proctoring, Moodle, one of the people on the committee brought up several ways you can give exams on Moodle. If the exams are going to be online, it's suggested that you create something in your syllabus saying on exam days, these are the times that technical issues will be answered. And you can, if you have large classes and have GAs, they said list everybody and their email addresses to contact for technical issues, how to handle that, and give them a time period saying, if there's a technical issue, this is the window that this can be taken care of. We know that that's been a big thing, different problems. And email communication, I know that some departments already have this enacted, that you have to answer an email within a 24-hour period. This is only a suggestion. It's not a mandate or rule. I know that larger classes, of course, will have more emails. Many students, since we were virtual, could not come up and ask questions after class or before class. So it would be determined by the professor how often they'll respond to emails, and that it would be best if, you inform the class, I do or do not answer emails on the weekend, to let them know ahead of time.
Okay, well, we are grateful for the committee's work, And these are just some initial steps. There was a lot of rather harsh feedback from the students that reached us. And so this is certainly the committee's efforts to respond to those. So again, we appreciate all of the feedback, and I'm certain that the committee will also appreciate feedback on these. Now, they were distributed, I think, last week and again this week. So please have a look and send us your comments, and we'll send them to the committee. All right. Thank you, Professor Wright, as well as the others on the committee. All right. Last up, it's that time of year again where we get to elect our friends. So, or frenemies, or complete strangers. So, yep. Okay. All right. So, first of all, I think Ms. Knoll will share her screen to. Okay. There. Okay. Now, as you will recall, we got for all things pandemic, among other things, we got out of sync on some committees. So we've recently elected some new committee members. They will stay on for an additional semester. Now, these committee members who will be elected will come on at the traditional time. That would be in August, and will rotate off again in August. All right. So, but however, from henceforth, everyone will rotate off and begin with the first August meeting, or first meeting of the year, usually held held in August. All right. So we have some openings. I won't enumerate them. You can read them as well as I can. This meeting is recorded, and we will send this out to everyone as well. However, what we do need, as you can see, there are a number of seats open, and the specific discipline college, or college, from whence these nominations should come, the members should come, are shown. Faculty senators are encouraged to, you can nominate yourself, you can nominate other faculty senators. It is not a requirement to be a faculty senator to serve on a standing faculty senate committee. So please send your nominations, and Ms. Knoll, we didn't indicate which ones are elected and which ones are appointed, but nonetheless, as you know, the Faculty Senate Executive Committee has assumed the responsibilities of the committee on committees, which no longer exists after the latest revision of the Constitution and bylaws. So all nominations, we do request that you send us nominations, whether it is for an election or an appointment. Perhaps we can add that before we send that out, Ms. Knoll. All right. Next up, for nominating officers of the Faculty Senate, the committee is composed of those faculty senators whose terms are coming to an end. Remember that you cannot serve 2 consecutive terms. There has to be one little year lapse between terms, and we are grateful for the service of all senators. So you see before you those senators whose current term is ending, and they will be serving as a nominating committee for the executive board, or the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and 2 members of the executive committee. All right, and next up, we have, 2 vacancies arising on the Athletics Council. Professor King, I don't know if you want to spend 2 or 3 minutes talking about the responsibilities of the Athletics Council.
Yes, the Athletic Council is chaired by the faculty athletic rep, Lori Martin, is our newest faculty athletic rep. There are representatives on the committee from the faculty, student government, Tiger Athletic Foundation, the athletic department, some off-campus entities also. And there's a policy that governs who is on this committee. And what we do is review things that affect the student athletes as far as academics related issues. We get reports from the associate athletic director about what's going on in athletics in general. We can ask questions about their budget. We can ask questions about their building plans, things like that. But for example, a thing that comes up with students, sometimes we have to meet if somebody was transferring to another school. We would meet with the student and the coach, and then we'd have to vote on whether we support the student being able to play immediately if they went to another school. As far as here on campus, there's rules that we have as to how many classes that students can miss if they go on an athletic event. So sometimes we have to review a request by a coach for students to miss greater than the allowed number for an athletic event. So we have to decide upon that as a group. The ultimate decision, though, rests with the Office of Academic Affairs on issues related to students. So that's just a couple examples of things we do. We also review Title IX as in regards only to the option of sports for women and men on that level. And so they do a survey every 3 or 4 years to gauge interests in new sports. And we sit in presentations that student clubs have regarding their request to become a varsity sport. So that's another example of something that we cover. So it's kind of fun, but also we need to keep, an eye on what's happening with student athletes and everything. And we also get reports from the Cox Center for Student Athletes on graduation rates and other information related to that.
All right. Thank you, Professor King. All right. So once again, there are 2 openings on the Athletics Council upcoming. And so please send your nominations for someone, for those who you think will serve well. We do not, once again, they do not need to be faculty senators, but faculty senators are certainly eligible. All right. Any questions? Okay, well, I think it's about time to step away from our electronic devices so that we don't, by some accident, be well electrocuted. So, all right, everybody, be safe. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for all you do for our faculty. And above all, be safe. All right, if there's nothing further, this meeting is adjourned.